You know I stand on business. Why you even letting somebody play with me like that? Why you letting somebody play with me like that?
You already know that when you come to jail, everybody jealous of what you had in your life. That's just part of the culture. Like, I wish I would have had.
I want to say this. First and foremost, there's no shame, no embarrassment in getting packed out, getting beat up. As long as you fight, you're respected. Now, did King fight? We don't know. I'm going to tell you my personal opinion about T.I.'s son, King.
It started like a normal day in Atlanta. But by the end of it, the entire internet was on fire. A courtroom filled with tension, a judge making a call nobody saw coming, and a young man, King Harris, standing at the center of it all, his voice shaking, his eyes wet, as he begged for something that no fame, no money, no power could guarantee, his freedom. This story isn't just about what happened inside those 4 courtroom walls. It's about everything that led up to that moment, the chaos, the fear, the family drama, and the mistakes that spiraled so far out of control, not even T.I. himself could stop it.
Like, I don't have no gang. I ain't in no gang. I got family. I got motherfuckers who willing to risk their lives and freedom to die by me and mine. You hear me? Why don't play with me, man? Don't play with my motherfucking child ever.
Why? No, King changed for other reasons and he ain't got good sense. You see what I'm saying?
Is that nigga give us a question?
Everybody know King ain't got, you know what I'm saying? He ain't got all his marks.
I'm the only one on here who got bad-ass kids.
We all go through.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you ain't got no bad-ass kids, you got one and you got lucky. You hear me? Anybody with 3 or more,
multiples,
you got one that you don't know what the hell you gonna do.
And when the final decision came down, it didn't just shock the fans, it stunned the entire industry. Let's rewind a little, because the build-up to that courtroom moment is where everything started to fall apart. For weeks, rumors had been circling that King wasn't doing well inside. People whispered about fights, about tension, about him being mixed up with the wrong crowd. And when those whispers started turning into clips, grainy, shaky videos recorded from inside, fans knew something serious was going on. Nobody could confirm how bad things had gotten, but the look in King's eyes in those short clips said enough. The confidence, the cockiness, it was gone, replaced by exhaustion, fear, regret.
I'm so puzzled why King feels the desire, need, want to be considered a street dude that badly. Like, why is he so obsessed with the struggle, with the life of being a street dude? Like, street dudes ain't really winning.
And behind the scenes, T.I. was reportedly losing it.
You wanted to go for that. You cried and cried and cried when you couldn't go.
Yeah, we done got big house, big yard, nothing to do.
But you want to be from the ghetto so bad.
This wasn't some celebrity headline or a bit of online drama. This was his son's life. The same kid who grew up on TV, who fans had seen joking around on Family Hustle, now trapped in a place his father had warned him about for years. Sources close to the family say T.I. was doing everything he could, calling lawyers, pulling strings, trying to use every ounce of influence he had to keep King safe. But even with all that power, even with that fame, there were things he simply couldn't control. Inside those walls, name or no name, King was just another inmate. Things took a turn one weekend when reports started spreading about an altercation inside the facility. Nobody could say exactly what happened, but witnesses claimed King had gotten caught up in a dispute that wasn't even his to begin with. He was with the wrong people at the wrong time. And that one moment, that one choice, would change everything. When the story hit the blogs, fans were split. Some said King needed to face the consequences of his choices. Others said he was just a kid trying to live up to a legacy that was impossible to carry. Either way, everyone agreed on one thing. The situation had gotten out of hand. And that's when T.I. made the decision that changed everything. He was going to face the court himself. Not as the rapper, not as the actor, not as the celebrity, but as a father. On the morning of the hearing, cameras swarmed the courthouse. Fans stood outside holding signs, some shouting encouragement, others just hoping to get a glimpse of the family that had been through hell these past few months. Inside, you could feel the tension in the air. Every time the courtroom doors creaked, people turned, expecting to see the judge, or the lawyers, or maybe even King being brought in. When T.I. and Tiny walked in, the room fell silent. Tiny, trying to hold it together, clutching her hands, eyes red from sleepless nights. T.I., his face tight, his jaw set, the kind of look you wear when you're trying to be strong even though every part of you is breaking inside. And then King entered. Shackled, dressed in a beige uniform, walking slow. His eyes scanned the room, then locked on his parents. That's when it hit him. This wasn't a TV show. It wasn't some viral moment. This was his life. When the judge finally took his seat, you could have heard a pin drop. The prosecutor spoke first, listing every violation, every incident, every reason they believed King should remain behind bars. It felt like they were reading a script, one designed to paint him as beyond saving, but then came the defense. And that's when the atmosphere shifted completely. King's lawyer didn't talk about fame or privilege. Instead, they talked about humanity, about a young man who made mistakes, yes, but also about the reality of being born into the spotlight. The expectations, the pressure, the public scrutiny before you're even old enough to understand what it all means. They said King wasn't asking for pity, he was asking for a second chance. And when King finally stood up to speak, that's when everything changed. His voice cracked as he looked at the judge and said, "I messed up. I ain't gonna sit here and act like I didn't, but I'm not that same person. I just want to go home. I just want a chance to do better." The silence after those words hung in the air like a heavy cloud. Even T.I. couldn't keep his composure anymore. His hands covered his face, tears spilling through his fingers. For the first time, fans saw the man behind the fame, a father watching his son beg for a life he'd once taken for granted. When the judge leaned forward, the entire room seemed to freeze. Everyone was expecting the worst. The prosecutor had been relentless, the evidence was stacked high, and yet something about the moment felt different. The judge looked at King, paused, and said, "You're lucky, young man. Most people in your position don't get this chance. Don't waste it." Then came the words that sent the courtroom into complete chaos. "I'm ordering your release." You could hear gasps, cries, even a few claps before the bailiffs called for order. T.I. stood frozen for a moment, processing what just happened, then he rushed toward King, wrapping him in a hug so tight it said everything words couldn't. The video of that hug spread across social media within minutes. Fans flooded the comments, saying they'd never seen T.I. look so vulnerable. One post read, "This is what a real father looks like." Another said, "This broke me. You can tell that man would trade everything just to make sure his son's okay." But not everyone was celebrating. Some critics questioned the judge's decision, claiming that celebrity status might have influenced the outcome. Others warned that freedom doesn't mean redemption, and that this was just the beginning of a much longer road. Meanwhile, inside the Harris household, the mood was bittersweet. Yes, King was home, but things weren't the same. The family had been through too much. Tiny reportedly laid down strict new boundaries, saying if King wanted to rebuild his life, he'd have to prove he was serious. No more public stunts, no more drama, no more trying to live up to an image that didn't reflect who he really was. And for once, it seemed like King understood. In the days following his release, he stayed quiet. No interviews, no social media posts, no flashy statements. Just silence. And for fans who'd followed every twist of his journey, that silence said more than any words could. Meanwhile, T.I. used his platform to deliver a message that hit millions of viewers. Sitting in front of a plain background, his voice calm but filled with emotion, he said, "When you raise kids in this world, all you can do is guide them. But at some point, they gotta find their own way. I prayed for my son, I fought for my son, and I thank God he's got another shot. What he does with it now, that's on him." That video racked up millions of views in just hours. Fans praised him for his honesty, for showing the world that fame doesn't make you immune to pain. Celebrities reached out publicly, sharing stories about their own struggles as parents. Even some of T.I.'s old critics gave him respect, saying they'd never realized how much he carried on his shoulders behind the scenes. But just when people thought the story was over, something unexpected happened. A leaked clip surfaced online, showing what appeared to be a heated exchange between King and another inmate just days before his release. The clip didn't show much, just a few seconds of raised voices, but it reignited the entire debate. Was King really innocent? Did T.I. use his influence to make this go away? Or was it all just another media twist? T.I.'s team quickly shut down the rumors, saying the footage was misleading and taken out of context. But the damage was done. Once again, the Harris family found themselves trending, the line between truth and speculation blurring into chaos. Still, through all of it, one thing became clear. King wasn't the same person anymore. Whether it was fear, humility, or a real wake-up call, something in him had changed. He was no longer trying to be the loudest voice in the room. Now, he was just trying to be heard for the right reasons, and as strange as it sounds, that courtroom moment might have been the best thing that ever happened to him. Sometimes, rock bottom isn't the end. It's the reset. Weeks after his release, fans spotted him volunteering at youth events, spending time with his younger siblings, and staying close to home. The transformation was so noticeable that even his harshest critics had to admit, maybe, just maybe, this time he'd really learned his lesson. Then came one of the most emotional moments yet, an appearance at a community center where T.I. and King stood side by side addressing a crowd of young people. T.I. talked about choices, about legacy, about the cost of pride. And when it was King's turn, he didn't hold back. "I thought I knew everything," he said, looking down for a moment before meeting the crowd's gaze, "but I was wrong. And when you're wrong, sometimes you gotta go through something to understand it. I ain't proud of what I did, but I'm proud of where I'm headed." The crowd erupted. Not in hype, not in fandom, but in respect. That clip alone became one of the most shared videos of the year. Fans called it the redemption moment, saying it was the first time they'd seen both father and son truly on the same page. And even though controversy still follows the Harris family, because let's face it, when you're living under the spotlight, peace never lasts forever. This chapter felt different. For once, it wasn't about fame or money or image. It was about love, forgiveness, and the painful road back from mistakes. Because when the judge said you're free, it didn't just mean freedom from a cell. It meant a chance to start over. And that's something not even fame can buy. The final shot of this story? King walking out of that courthouse, squinting in the sunlight, surrounded by his family. Cameras flashing, voices shouting, the chaos of media everywhere. But through all that noise, he didn't look back. He just smiled. A small, uncertain smile, but a real one. Because for the first time in a long time, he wasn't just T.I.'s son. He was his own man.